Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Ron Amlin from SBM St. Louis, and today we are going to talk everything banking. And we have one of the area's top bankers with us today. Ajla Zigic is the Vice President, Business Development Officer at Midwest BankCentre. And Ajla, thank you for joining us today and to talk a little bit about banking.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, let's start out with, let's talk about you a little bit. Tell me about your banking career, how it got started, and what you enjoy about it.
So I actually started in banking right out of high school. It was supposed to be a part-time, easy little job, while I worked my way through college and, just something to have to keep you occupied and give you a little spending cash throughout the day. And it turned out that I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed helping people. I enjoyed making a difference. I didn't realize how big of an impact your banker can have on your life if you have a good banker. So the more that I spent learning about my job, the more that I spent learning about banking, the more I really enjoyed it. And I really saw what I could do for St. Louis and for the communities around here. And I stuck to it.
That's perfect. And you're at a perfect spot for that Midwest BankCentre because I know you guys are very much involved and committed to the community. So you found a good home as
Yeah.
far as that goes. Well, let's talk about financing options. I mean,
Yeah.
what are some of the options business owners have within your organization and with banking in general?
Yeah. So at Midwest BankCentre, we have various options. We have fixed term loans, we have installment loans, revolving lines of credit, um, business credit cards, SBA loans. We have a lot of different options. We have a really robust CNI, real estate, and SBA divisions. Really, no business is too small for us or too large for us. And we really work with our clients on finding financing options because we know that there's no such thing as two businesses being alike. Everyone has their own personality, everyone is different. So we cannot apply a one fits all mentality. So we really make sure that it's custom fit to our clients.
Tell me about here at our place. We had a fixed term loan years ago when we purchased the business. Now we have a line of credit that revolves, and we use some, pay it off, use some. What would be the difference? I mean, why would I go for a line of credit versus a fixed term? What are some of the reasons I would choose one over the other?
So it depends on what your end goal is. So let's say you're purchasing a building. You really will want something that is more fixed, that has a more fixed rate, that has a lower rate and a longer amortization period. And then if you do need, let's say, a working line of credit, just for expenses, payroll, any additional costs that may come up, that's really where that line of credit comes in handy. That would be more, I say, think of it like a credit card, right? Use it when you need it. And when you don't use it. That way you're not paying interest on it.
Right. And tell me about the SBA loans, because I think there's a huge misconception out there amongst business owners that the SBA actually gives money out to business owners, which is not the case. It's a guarantee on the loan. So
Right.
explain how that process works.
So the main difference between traditional lending and SBA lending is really like that guarantee. So if you don't have the collateral to make a traditional loan happen, that's where the SBA really comes in because they're willing to guarantee more of it to make sure that you get those funds to get you up and running. So
So,
that's
so if
really
I'm yeah, so if I'm the bank has less risk involved if the SBA is willing to guarantee some of that, right?
correct. Right. And let's say you don't have traditionally banks do like to see collateral, up to 80% of it should be collateral. So if you don't have, a real estate to put up or any type of securities to put up, that's where the SBA really comes in handy because they can guarantee and then we take that basically, into consideration to make that loan happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes sense. Tell me about the process. I mean, if I want to get a loan or a line of credit, I mean, do I have to fill out reams of paperwork? Do I have to have a business plan formally that I give to you? I mean, tell me how it all works.
It honestly starts with a good old conversation at Midwest Bank Center. Our goal is to really form a relationship with our clients. So we like to sit down, we like to understand you, your business, your goals. Where do you want to go? How can we get you there? And we cannot get that full picture from an application. So, we're still a relationship bank. So it starts off at a good old conversation. But then we go ahead and we start collecting information, including your financials, so your personal financial statement, tax returns, things like that, because we do want to see on paper your strength as a borrower and the
Mhm.
business. But as far as business plans go and things like that, that's really more of a conversation as opposed to I don't need a PDF or a slideshow.
Right, right. Or the PowerPoint. You don't need any of that. So,
Exactly.
every business wants the banker to say yes, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's not possible, but we all want the banker to say yes. What are some things business owners can do to increase their chances of the banker saying yes to their loan application or their line of credit application?
Communication. It all starts with communication. Your banker also wants to get this loan approved and closed and done and funded. And a good banker will be your advocate. They will stand by you, they will have your back throughout the whole process, but you do have to keep that communication open. You have to make sure that you are relaying all the information that is necessary, good and bad, because that's really going to help your banker get it to the finish line.
Yeah, yeah, well, definitely. And
Yeah.
let's talk about personal credit and the role that plays, and collateral, because I think those seem to be two of the things that business owners always talk to me about, things that might trip them up in the process, that personal
Mhm.
credit and the collateral piece. So talk about those two things.
So we can't really say enough about keeping good credit, personal credit for your personal life as well as for your business, right? Because that's something that we will check again. But it tells a story about your financial health. So it gives us a very good overall picture of how you're doing. Very few small businesses ever scale to the point that personal credit of the borrower becomes irrelevant. Um, so throughout the life cycle of your business, banks will really examine your personal health and your credit history to see the likelihood that you will repay a loan. So that's why it's so important. If you do have any type of personal credit struggles, I would say go ahead and seek out resources to improve your personal credit score, correct any issues that are out there. And once again, Midwest Bank Center, our bankers are willing to sit down with you and go over tips and tricks on how to correct mistakes that may be hovering out there on your credit report.
Right, right. Let's talk a little bit about finding the right bank, because I think different banks have different appetites for different loans and different customers. How do
Mhm.
you find the right bank, and then how do you start to build that relationship with a banker?
Yeah, so some business owners may start their banking operations operating, account with a bank that they're familiar with. Um, then maybe later, getting a loan with a different bank and applying for a credit card with a completely different one. And the downside is there isn't a strong partnership with any of these banks once you are at multiple places at once. Um, so I think that finding the right bank and banker from the beginning is a good strategic move for any small business owner. Um, and it's a decision that should not really be taken lightly. So I would say first look for a bank with a local decision making department. It's not only that you get quicker responses, but you also get better service, personalized service.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I know that small business owners call me and talk to me all the time about issues they're having. When COVID hit and the first round of the PPP loans came out, there was like a strict time frame for that. It ended up being because they only had so many dollars that they could spend. I think that lasted like 2 or 3 weeks, and a
Right.
lot of folks who did not have a really good relationship with their bankers found themselves kind of left out, because if they were doing business with a bank and they were just kind of a number with the bank, and they didn't really know their banker and their banker didn't know them. I mean, they were
Hmm.
finding it really difficult to get that PPP funding. And the second round came and they all ended up getting it. But it kind of goes to show that really getting a relationship with a banker is probably a really smart thing to do in this day and
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, especially for a small business owner, that you do need quite a bit of support from the get-go. And the best way to do that is you look for a banker that's a partner, someone who's going to offer more than just a simple transaction. You don't want to go to a bank and just open an account and never hear from them, because you will need additional things as your business grows. And if you have that relationship with your banker, you're more likely to get that support. You're more likely to get a quick answer. You're more likely, let's say something as simple as, adding your direct deposit for your employees. Well, you'll need a letter from the bank. So it could take you a couple of weeks, or it could take you a couple hours to get it. And it just depends on that relationship that you have with your banker.
Yeah, and the business owners I know that have great reports with their bankers, their banker is such a good advocate for them. I have a
Right.
friend of mine who built this really good relationship with a banker. He didn't even need a bank loan, but he had built this rapport with a banker, and he got in a conversation about, okay, he may need a bank loan now, and then they started talking about some of the things that my friend, the business owner, was doing with his numbers at the end of the year, because he was trying to lower his tax burden. So he was paying all this money forward, so his books looked like he was the most unsuccessful business owner in town. And his banker was like, it's going to be really difficult, to go through underwriting when you look like you're losing, $100,000 every year.
Hmm.
We've got to spend some time and get through this. And they did, and he was able to get his funding. But had he not had that relationship, he would have been in trouble if he went to the bank and really needed that funding right away. So I think
Yeah.
it's important to lean on your banker as one of your key advisors.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's why I say, find a bank that will service your loan needs, your treasury management, your account needs, etc., all under one roof. And this enables the entire team to work together and make sure that you're supported. You really benefit from having everything coordinated, as opposed to having to bounce around and get, different answers from different places. Once they know everything that's going on with your business, you're more likely to get really good feedback and advice on how to make your business better and make it grow.
Yeah, I think that is great. Do you have any other pieces of advice you can pass along to our business owners when it comes to banking here in 2021?
Um, well, things have definitely changed since the pandemic. So I would say, you know, make sure that you find a place that cares about your prosperity as well as the community and the region. The pandemic has really shown that some local banks are more likely to support you during harder times. So I would go ahead and say that make sure that you connect with your bank on more than just a transactional level.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Isla Zigic from Midwest BankCentre, I thank you very much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me.